This is the penultimate week of the Premier League season, and we could see two more sides mathematically relegated along with Southampton down to the Championship this weekend. We could also see teams swapping places in this frantic Premier League relegation dogfight going into that final week, so we're going to have another deep dive into the Premier League relegation battle. Before we get into this video today, guys, and go through some stats and figures and what to look out for this weekend in the Premier League relegation battle, do make sure to share your comments and predictions down below, especially if you support one of these teams. I am intrigued to know your thoughts. Do make sure, of course, to hit that like button. We'll go for 400 likes on this video, and if you haven't already subscribed, please do make sure to subscribe, as we're this close to 30,000 subscribers. So please do hit the subscribe button, show some support, and let's get into another Premier League relegation battle video. So then, in the video we did the other day talking about the Premier League relegation battle, we looked at the table and the fixtures and how many points you might need to survive this season. Let's just have a little look at some of the permutations for this weekend. Leicester City on 30 points, they play on Monday. Leeds United on 31 points, they play on Sunday. If Nottingham Forest can get a draw and Everton can get a win in the games before that, Leeds United with a loss will be relegated, and it'll also mean Leicester City need to get a win, otherwise they'd be relegated. So like I say, we could see Leeds and Leicester both relegated this weekend. That would be the worst case scenario, obviously, for those sides. The absolute opposite, the flip to that, would be Leeds United and Leicester City being the sides that could get the wins this weekend, and coupled with Forest losing and Everton not winning, we could see teams swapping places going in to that final week. A couple things we do know is Leicester City can't overtake Nottingham Forest this weekend, even if Forest lost and Leicester City won, and obviously as well, a Forest win before Leicester City play means Leicester City can't even catch Forest with 2 wins from their final 2 games, because the gap would become 7 points. I think the most interesting part of this relegation battle at the moment, in my opinion, is Everton and Leeds United. A lot of people are starting to tip Leicester City to go down, with Newcastle away being their next game. I think Leicester City are going to have to just rely on other results to go their way to not be relegated going into that game. If Leicester City can pick up a draw in that game, then it obviously gives them a good chance, but like I say, they'll just have to see how the other games go first. But Everton and Leeds, there's not much between them. I think their fixtures are both quite similarly matched up this weekend, with Everton going away to Wolves and Leeds United going away to West Ham, two sides that won't be relegated, or at least West Ham shouldn't be relegated, bearing in mind they'd have to lose terribly to get sucked back into this. I think their fixtures are quite interestingly matched up. Nottingham Forest are at home, which, like we say, is their strong suit, but it's against Arsenal, so I think a draw does get them to that 35 points, which I said should be enough to keep them up this season. What Nottingham Forest do know, though, is a loss to Arsenal, and it's going to the final day, and it is possible they could be in that bottom 3 if they lose that Arsenal game, if Everton beat Wolves before them and then Leeds beat West Ham after their game is played. So that would obviously be the worst case scenario for Nottingham Forest here. I'm just going to show you a few things about this Premier League relegation battle which I am quite fascinated by. The first thing is the Premier League points needed to avoid relegation over the last few seasons. And as you can see, it fluctuates, but on average, if you get to 34 points, that should be enough. So that would obviously mean Nottingham Forest have a good chance of staying up this season, even just with the points they've got in the bank already. The reason I've said 35 to survive is I think it just gives you that extra reassurance. I mean, like I say, it is definitely possible Nottingham Forest could still stay up with 34 points if they lose 2 games, but they'll be giving Leeds United 2 opportunities to strike at them in the final 2 games, and I also think it's likely Everton should be able to get 1 win out of their 2 games. I could be wrong, and we could see Leicester and Leeds both get past Everton. We could actually still see Leicester and Leeds be the 2 teams that stay up ahead of Nottingham Forest and Everton, which would be interesting. I did put a poll out on my community page the other day, and I had over 3.3 thousand people vote on which teams they think are going to stay up this season. And if you want to get involved in these polls on the channel, do just make sure to subscribe to the channel, and you will see them pop up on your YouTube feed. And what is interesting is how many people have voted for Nottingham Forest to stay up the most. We had 59% of the 3.3 thousand people vote for Nottingham Forest as their favourites to survive, which is double what the next team got, Everton. But once again, they are very clear of the third team, Leeds United. Everton with 28%, Leeds United with 9%. 9%, Leicester City with a dismal 4% of the vote. Now I will factor in we do have more fans of certain teams on the channel than others. It's very likely there could be more Nottingham Forest fans that support this channel than Leicester City fans, but with that amount of people that have voted, factor in there's a lot of neutrals that watch the Championship content that are watching on voting for which teams they think are going to survive, and they haven't really got a preference. Let's also have a little look at who the bookmakers think are going to stay up in this Premier League relegation battle. You can see both Everton and Nottingham Forest are tied on odds on to stay up this season. They're both quite clear of the next team, which are Leeds United, who are also a bit further clear of Leicester City. There are probably two things the bookmakers have based those odds on. The first of them being the fixtures remaining. As I say, the majority of us would say Everton's fixtures look the nicest. Now that's not to say they're going to win both of them. I've seen some people commenting on the previous videos saying how Everton have been pretty rubbish and by no means are they going to go out and win 2 games out of 2. I'm not saying that, but I think with them being above that bottom 3 and playing 2 sides that have done well to stay up but also have not a lot to play for, Everton will fancy their chances to just pinch 1 win out of 2. Bear in mind, Everton's last 2 games have been Brighton and Man City, a lot harder, and they did take 3 points out of those games and come out with a plus goal difference as well. The other thing that the bookmakers will obviously factor in is points on the board and obviously therefore position in the table. And I do think with 2 games remaining, points are absolutely massive and probably more important than the fixtures remaining. Unless your last 2 games are Man City and Liverpool away, for example, then I do think with the points on the board and the confidence that will give you knowing it's in your hands, you have a very strong chance of staying up. My hunch over the last week or 2 has now been Nottingham Forest and Everton, and I'm not afraid to put my hands up and say I've tossed and turned on a couple of teams in the Premier League relegation battle over the last couple of months. Nottingham Forest are a team I've been adamant should stay up this season based on the fact there's that hunger to stay up in their first season, and they've had quite a few more points on the board compared to these other teams over the last few weeks. Everton have just popped their heads above the water and now it's in their hands, and with the fixtures that we say are not harder than the others, Everton also have a good chance to stay up. Leeds United for me are the team that are in the bottom 3 that I think have the best chance of getting out of it. I think if we were to see a swap here, I think it could be Leeds and Everton. It's not impossible, Forest could still get dragged into it. I just think at the moment though with Leicester City, they have to get something from both of their games, a minimum of 4 points, because I really don't see 33 points being enough to survive this season. They'd need Everton to pretty much not pick up any more points and Leeds United not to pick up any more wins either. So Leicester City's chances very slim at the moment. Do let me know your thoughts down below. As I say guys, to get involved in more polls on the channel, do make sure to subscribe, and we'll talk about the Premier League relegation battle again after this massive penultimate weekend. We're going to look forward to it going into that final week, and it'll be interesting to see which teams are still involved. As I say, it's possible it could all be wrapped up this weekend with a Forest and Everton win and bad results for Leeds and Leicester. Like I say guys, do subscribe, do get your comments in, please do make sure to drop a like as well, and we'll see you in the next one. The Premier League relegation battle looks like it could be going to the wire.